Hello everyone, and good morning. It's your host, Arno Pranidhi, here for another fun session. Today is July 17, a lovely Thursday, and for 2 days, trending articles from the archive. We're going to dive into a super interesting field called human-computer interaction. It's all about how we humans and computers can be better friends. Okay, let's get started with today's paper. The title is Unbound Ambiguity Detection in Natural Language Instructions for Collaborative Surgical Robots. And the curl is HCI. That's a long one. So, what is this all about, you ask? Well, everyone, imagine super advanced operating room. A doctor is performing surgery with the help of a robotic arm. The doctor needs to give commands to the robot, right? Like robot, please cut this. Or robot, hold that. It's much easier to use your voice than to fiddle with a controller, especially during a delicate operation. There's a little problem here. What if the doctor says something a bit fuzzy? Or, I'm ambiguous. For example, if the doctor just says, cut the tissue, the robot might think, which tissue? Where should I cut? How deep? If the robot makes a mistake, it could be very, very dangerous for the patient. That's the big important problem this paper is trying to solve. It's about making sure that when a person gives a command to a robot in a critical situation, the robot understands it perfectly. So how do they do it? It's really clever. They use large language models or clones, which are the super smart AIs everyone is talking about. But they don't just use one AI. No. They use a whole team of them, like a group of expert detectives. They call this an ensemble of evaluators. Each detective in the team has a special job. One detective is a linguistic evaluator. It checks for confusing words or grammar. For example, if the doctor says, "Listen to me," this detective would wonder what is late. The scalpel, the forceps. It needs to be clear. Another one is the non-contextual evaluator. This one thinks about the situation. Does the command make sense at this specific moment in the surgery? And there's the no procedural evaluator. It checks if the steps are clear. A command like move a little to the left is a problem. How much is a little? 1 millimeter? 1 centimeter? This detective spots that kind of fuzziness. And maybe the most important one is the vertical safety evaluator. Its only job is to look for instructions that could be dangerous if misunderstood. It's like the team's safety officer. After all these detectives give their opinions, their scores are combined, and a final system, called prediction, looks at the scores and decides if the command is ambiguous, ambiguous, or uncertain. And here's the best part. If the system decides a command is unclear, it doesn't just stop. It gives helpful feedback to the doctor. Or might say, to clarify, please specify the location of the tissue to be cut. Isn't that amazing? It helps the doctor and robot work together safely. Wow. Let's think about how this technology could be used in our daily lives. I can think of a few neat examples. First, let's talk about accessibility technology, especially for helping elderly people or those with disabilities. Imagine a smart home system. An elderly person might say, turn on the light. There might be several lights in the room. Instead of guessing, the system could use this ambiguity detection to ask, of course, you mean the ceiling light, or the reading lamp by your chair? This makes technology so much more helpful and less frustrating. Second, let's think about VR, or virtual and augmented reality. These are often used for training people for complex jobs, like airplane mechanics. In a training session, an AI instructor might tell a student, connect the cable. But if there are 10 different cables and ports, it's not a very good instruction, is it? The system could recognize the command as ambiguous. It could then highlight the correct table and the correct port in the student's view, or ask a question to make sure the student is learning correctly. This makes training much more effective. And for a third example, how about making our smartphone ads easier to use? Let's say you're using a new photo editing app with a voice assistant. You say make it look better. Well, better is subjective, right? It's ambiguous. Your app, using this technology, could ask, how would you like to make it better? Do you want to make it brighter, add more color, or sharpen the details? It turns a confusing command into a set of clear choices. This would make apps so much friendlier for everyone. So, How is this different from older technology? Well, older systems were often robust. They were very rigid. You had to say the command in one exact way, or it wouldn't work. They couldn't handle different ways of saying the same thing. His new method is so much smarter. It uses a team of eyes that can understand language in a more human-like way. Our non-formal prediction part gives it a sense of confidence. It knows when it's sure, and more importantly, it knows when it's not sure. Nor, when to ask for help is a sign of true intelligence. Don't you think? The researchers tested this with two different eyes, Llama 3.2 and Gemma 3, and the Gemma 3 model was able to tell the difference between clear and ambiguous instructions with over 82% accuracy. That's really impressive. This work helps us get closer to a future where we can talk to robots and computers naturally, and they can understand us safely and reliably, even in situations where a mistake is not an option. It's a wonderful step forward for making technology a true partner for humanity. Alright, that's all the time we have for today. I hope you had fun learning with me. This is your host, Iani, signing off. Have a fantastic day, everyone. Bye-bye.